I am just telling you, 1 year from now, the Eagles will have a franchise quarterback. It will either be Jalen Hurts, a veteran like Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, or Russell Wilson, or they will have drafted a kid in April in the top 10.
Mac guys here on Birds 365. Thanks for tuning in, Eagle fans. Our next guest, and you see a smiling face right there, is all over the place. Does the Eagles pregame show on WIP. He's got his own podcast, our Tucker podcast. Does games for Westwood One, NFL Insider for Odyssey. And damn, I see him. He's already commenting on the stream. There's a guy that participates. Ross Tucker joins us here on Birds 365. How are you, Ross?
Jody Mac, I am fired up, man. Hey, listen, I say it all the time. I'll say it here. When I talk Eagles, it's like not work. It's amazing. You know, this is what I grew up doing. So pretty cool to be able to talk with you guys and obviously doing the Eagles preseason games as well. They'll be here before you know it, man. I'm glad we still have at least 3. I love doing those games, and there will be a lot of intrigue for those preseason games this year.
Yeah, in both stadiums, Ross. That's got to excite you to not do it in an antiseptic environment in a big $2 billion TV studio. It'd be nice to get the fans back in the building. It looks like we're on track for that.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. It was weird last year. I got to tell you, I really thought I would end up maybe doing 0 games. I didn't know what was going to happen. I ended up getting a chance to do 13 college games for CBS and then 14 NFL games for Westwood One, the radio side. But being inside stadiums without a single soul in there, it's bizarre.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the first game I did was like Giants-Browns maybe. It was a Monday night game, and it felt like I was at a JV high school scrimmage.
Yeah.
Like I could hear everything they were saying down on the field, you know, and even you get cues, right? When there's a big sack or a fumble from the crowd, you get the roar, there were no cues from the crowd. It was
By
really,
the way,
unique.
Ross, I miss because I get to the stadium early, as you know.
Yes.
And the only one there before me, not the only one, but is Ross Tucker. So there's a hard worker right there.
You know why? So there's a couple of things, John. Number one, I despise traffic.
Same here.
So I like
Same
to get
here.
there early.
Yeah.
Secondly, I always have other work I need to be working on. And I'm there for the WIP pregame show, which starts 3 hours before the game.
Yeah.
But I want to get some of the food. I want to get a Philly pretzel, and I want to get that diet Snapple they have. I want to get – so before the WIP show starts 3 hours before the game, I get there 4 hours before. Usually I've made friends with the cafeteria staff at the link. They'll usually hook me up with breakfast before they put it out for everybody else because I got to eat before that 3 hour WIP show, man. I got to eat.
I hear you.
Been there, done that. Pregame shows start very early, so you need to get there early as well. All right, let me follow up with something you said, Ross, talking about doing a game with no fans there and how weird it was for you. It's got to be the same thing for the players last year when they were playing without anyone in the stands. You got to witness it and see the reaction and how the players handled it. You probably had a chance to talk to some, not many, via Zoom. You saw a clip here or there, someone else asking the questions. How big a deterrent do you think it was for the players last year to have to be able to get through that? Hopefully we're back to close to normal this year. We're close to 100% attendance. You recognized it just made your work and your life different by doing it in front of an empty stadium. How did it work for the players?
So it was bizarre, but on some level, they kind of got used to it after a few weeks. However, late in the year, when some of the stadiums were able to have 5,000, 10,000 people, what I heard from the guys was they were surprised how loud 5,000 or 10,000 people can be when you're used to 0 for the whole season. You know, I mean, there was a game where Cleveland had 15,000, 20,000 people, and that place was rocking late in the year. The other thing that's weird, guys, that people don't realize, when you're actually inside those white lines, I'm telling you, you don't really hear anything. Like you're so focused in on what you're doing, you really hear the roar of the crowd after the play or maybe before the play. But once like that ball is snapped, you don't hear anything. It's hard to explain. It's like you're in this your own little world.
In the zone. Well, let's go in between the lines, Ross, because Eagles made a big move, at least as big as you can make probably in mid-May at this stage. You get a veteran pass rusher like Ryan Kerrigan, who's done it at a high level for a very long time in this league. You know how much Lane Johnson respects Ryan Kerrigan. How much can a player like that at this stage of his career help this Eagles defense?
Well, it's interesting, John, because I wrote on Twitter yesterday at Ross Tucker NFL. I thought this was a statement signing by the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, all the Twitter trolls were like, oh, yeah, what's the statement? You know, that they're washed up like Kerrigan, blah, 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 right? No, here's what I mean by that, okay? We know that the owner, Jeffrey Lurie, has talked about it being a transition year. I think some people have taken that to mean the Eagles are not trying to win this year. Nothing could be further from the truth. And you could look at the signings of Anthony Harris at safety or Eric Wilson at linebacker and say, okay, they needed those guys. Like they needed a linebacker. They needed a safety. Okay. They didn't need Kerrigan, John. They did not need Kerrigan. Yeah. Now, it's a transition year, new quarterback, new head coach, stockpiling picks for 2022. They got rid of a lot of salary cap pain this year. So in that way, it is a transition year. But the Kerrigan signing shows me they are conceding nothing, absolutely nothing. They believe they can compete and win the division this year. And I got to be honest with you, I don't blame them. I don't disagree with them. Look, Carson was very good for 4 years. Very good. Really enjoy him as a person, the way he played. He was terrible last year. I mean, he was arguably the worst quarterback in the NFL. You look at the sacks, you look at the interceptions. If Jalen Hurts is the 27th best quarterback in the NFL, the Eagles are much better. You just can't be last. You can't be the worst. If he just doesn't throw those picks or have those sacks, I think right now, you look at their offensive and defensive lines, I think they're around a 500 ball club, which won't happen, by the way. There's 17 games, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. 9-8, 8-9. And I don't look at any team in the NFC East as being significantly better than that. I think they're all kind of in that same mix. The Kerrigan move shows to me the Eagles really do believe that even though this is a transition year, they can still win that division again.
Right. Take their shot in the NFC least. It was last year. It could be again this year. All right, let me take you to that quarterback position. It's a unique situation, and here's what I mean by that. We've seen quarterbacks being in position for 1 year, like Andy Dalton is the quarterback of the Bears. We don't even know if that's going to last an entire year, but the coaching staff is standing behind it. He's our starting quarterback. You bring in a veteran guy, might not be at the top of his game anymore, and you know he's a transitional quarterback. A bridge quarterback is another word that's used often. Jalen Hurts is different. He's still a young guy, but most people are speculating that he's going to be the quarterback for this year. We don't know about next year yet. They're not making any multi-year commitment to Jalen Hurts. It's a one-year kind of prove-it situation. If you buy into that philosophy, is it better for Jalen Hurts because, hey, step up, you know what you have to accomplish, there's a job to be grabbed here, go ahead and grab it, and he'll be very motivated by it and ready and pumped to play every single week? Or is it just too pressurized that young quarterbacks are given time to develop? And if you have an off year, so be it. Well, it will be improved the year after. How's it going to play for Jalen Hurts knowing that this is very much a big 1 year show it to me type season?
Well, I mean, Jody Mack, if he doesn't perform well because it's too pressurized, then he's not the guy. I mean, we've seen too many rookies playing well recently. Burrow last year, Herbert was awesome last year, Tua was up and down. This is Jalen's second year now, and he's going to get all the reps this spring, all the reps in training camp. I think he's got a better team around him than other people do. I mean, look, the offensive line, if Brandon and Lane stay healthy, it's a top 10 O-line all day. You have Miles Sanders. I like some of the running backs they've picked up, like Kenny Gainwell. Dallas Goedert is a top 10 tight end. The receivers are a question mark. We know that, but that's why they drafted Devontae Smith. This is not an offense that's bereft of talent for Hurts. What I think is a concern, Jody Mack, at least from my perspective, what if Hurts is just okay? Like if he's good, awesome. Hurts is good. He's the next McNabb or whatever. You use the draft picks to make the team awesome around him. If he's bad, okay, that's a bummer, but then we'll use the draft picks for a kid next year, or Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, whatever. What if he's right in the middle? That's the thing I keep thinking about. You'd almost rather have clarity one way or the other. I happen to think he's going to play pretty well, but I'm not letting him have any built-in excuses, Jody Mack. Look, situations in the NFL are rarely perfect, right? You have to rise above and take advantage of the opportunity. Not many mid-second round picks get the opportunity Jalen Hurts is getting this year.
It's interesting you bring that up, Ross, because I've said a similar type of thing. When I speculate about Jalen Hurts and how he plays, I think to myself, okay, what can he do to prove to this team that he is the starter moving forward? Because they have so many draft assets. They're going to have so much money. In theory, there's going to be veteran quarterbacks available. You mentioned 27th. If he's 27th best in the league, the Eagles are going to be better. Well, he's got to be better than that. But I think he's even got to be better than middle of the road, because better than anybody, Ross, what this franchise thinks about quarterbacks. They always want the star quarterback, the quarterback factory. So if you're middle of the road, that's almost like NFL purgatory. I always use Kirk Cousins as a measuring stick, probably unfair, but that's a good quarterback. Is he good enough, though? You want to get into that top 10 range, which the Eagles once had with Carson Wentz. Is anything less than that acceptable?
Yeah, so I would disagree, John. I would say if you have a top 20 quarterback in the NFL, I believe you can win a Super Bowl with that guy, and I think you hold on to him for dear life, because it is hard to get a top 20 guy and to have them. There's a lot of teams that have had bottom 5, bottom 8, bottom 10 quarterbacks for a long time. I would agree with you that 27th best quarterback for Jalen Hurts this year is not good enough. I would submit to you, if he's the 18th best in the NFL this year, in his first year as a starter, his first year in a new system with Nick Sirianni, his second year in the league, then you continue to roll with that guy. Unless you can get a deal done to get a top 5 guy like a Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson. But I would challenge you guys, go through and actually rank all 32 quarterbacks. Yeah. You would take the top 20 guys. Like you would be like, okay, you really look at who's 18, 19, 20. I mean, it's some of the guys in the teens are really good players.
Let me throw you guys out some numbers for Jalen Hurts. I just happened to jot these down earlier today, and this is pure guesstimation on what kind of numbers Jalen Hurts could put up this year. This past year, he hit 52% of his passes, threw 6 touchdowns, threw 4 interceptions, had a 77 and change quarterback ranking. Let me project these numbers for Jalen Hurts. Let's say he starts all 16 games, stays healthy, plays 15 out of 16. Let's say he throws for about 3,200 yards. Last year was 1,000, but he only played 4 games. So projecting 31 and change, 3,200, not outrageous. Let's say he throws about 16 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Last year was 6 and 4. So that should be doable. His average per yard throw last year was 7.2. Let's say he doesn't even achieve that. Let's say he goes about 6.2, and he has that quarterback ranking right there at about, not even 77 like last year. Let's say 74. Is that going to be good enough for the Eagles to say, yeah, he's our quarterback, we're going to give him another year?
Depends how and when, Jody Mack. If he starts off poorly and then finishes strong with the numbers you just gave me, then they might have something to think about. If he starts off pretty good and then struggles towards the end with the numbers you just gave me, they'll move on. It really does depend on the timing. Now, just the way you laid it out there, if he has 16 touchdown passes, 14 interceptions, I don't know that that's going to cut it. Not with the Eagles having 3 first-round picks.
Here's the reason why I gave you those numbers. You probably didn't recognize them. Those are Carson Wentz's numbers from his rookie year. And if he comes out and reproduces what Carson Wentz did, no one was talking about moving away from Carson Wentz when he put up those numbers in his rookie year. And I know he was the 2nd pick in the draft and Jalen Hurts was the 2nd-round pick, and that's a different with expectations. But production's production. Yeah, if he's going to do exactly what Carson did, why shouldn't he get the same treatment that Carson did?
I'll tell you why. There's 2 reasons. Number one, this is Jalen's 2nd year. It was Wentz's rookie year. Jalen will get all the reps in training camp. Carson wasn't even supposed to start.
No.
It was going to be Bradford until the Vikings stupidly traded a first-round pick for Sam Bradford. Carson wasn't even supposed – and then, by the way, Carson got hurt in the preseason that year. He wasn't even supposed to play. Okay. Meanwhile, and maybe just as importantly, they didn't have 3 first-round picks Carson's 2nd year, J-Mac.
Yeah.
They have 3 first-round picks. They're in a different ball game in terms of the resources they have that they can use. Look, here's the reality, okay? I'm just telling all the Eagles fans I'm hitting you guys up right now on the chat. You guys hit me up at Ross Tucker NFL or youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. I am just telling you, 1 year from now, the Eagles will have a franchise quarterback. It will either be Jalen Hurts, a veteran like Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, or Russell Wilson, or they will have drafted a kid in April in the top 10. Now, he might stink. We don't know that. But my point is there will be no discussion. When you guys have me on Birds 365 a year from now, there won't be anybody like, who should be the – No. We'll all know who the quarterback is for 2022 and 2023. We'll already know that one way or the other a year from now.
All right, Ross, I've taken way too long to get into offensive line with you. Obviously, a former NFL offensive lineman, also a smart guy from Princeton. So I always get intimidated when there's an Ivy League guy in the room. Nonetheless, if Jalen Hurts succeeds, I think it's going to be because of that offensive line. You mentioned if Lane Johnson is healthy, these are big ifs. These are aging players. Brandon Brooks with injury history. Jason Kelsey, we all know, toughest guy in the world, plays through everything, but at some point it's going to catch up to him. Even Isaac Seumalo, and we'll talk about left tackle as well in a bit. I know you're a big Jordan Mailata guy. I still think they're going to give an opportunity to Andre Dillard. Either way, whoever wins that job, if they're out there for 16 games or close to it, that's a top 10 offensive line. If you can block people, you got a good chance to win in this league. Is that the path to Jalen Hurts' success?
Well, and not only that, I would be stunned if the Eagles didn't have a top 10 O-line and D-line. I hear some of these people acting like the Eagles are going to win 5 or 6 games. Show me the last team with a top 10 O-line and D-line that was that bad. I'd love to see it. Okay. Now we don't know about Lane's ankle, Brandon coming back from the Achilles. We don't know that stuff. But based on what they have right now, it's top 10 O-line all day. And if my boy Mailata, and you guys remember what I said about him, his rookie year during the preseason games, I could not believe. I'm telling you, this guy could be a weapon, an absolute weapon. Some of the stuff he does to people, you just can't do. I mean, like, he's that big and that athletic. He's still not there yet. I hope they give him every rep this spring, every rep this summer. It sounds like they're going to have him compete with Dillard. And look, Dillard deserves a chance as well. From my perspective, I want Mailata getting as many reps as possible. I still think he can be a Pro Bowl caliber player when I see some of the things he's capable of physically and what he does. So now you've got potential Pro Bowler at left tackle, every year Pro Bowler at center, Pro Bowl right guard, Pro Bowl right tackle, and Sayamalo's fine. Who has that? Who else has that? And then on the D-line, Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, they can rotate some of these guys inside a little bit. Brandon Graham can play in there. They go 4 deep at D-end. They're top 10 O-line and D-line. Look, even people that hate the Eagles, forget me, right? I'm the Eagles preseason guy or whatever. Even people that hate the Eagles will admit they're top 10 O-line, D-line all day. And by the way, potentially top 5 O-line and D-line.
I agree with you on the offensive line. Defensive line, I think that's a little optimistic. But I want to go back to the offensive line, the left tackle spot. You're a Mailata guy, certainly well acknowledged what you just said. I haven't given up on Dillard, and I kind of trust Nick Sirianni a little bit more than my co-host does on this whole competition thing. No, yeah. I'm good with a competition at left tackle. Made the best man win. Both of them are still young enough that you can say, hey, you get the reps you get. We're not going to commit to one and give him all the reps and put the load on him to prove that he's worth it. The other guy's got to fight through it. Started as a dead, flat, even competition. Made the best man win between Dillard and Mailata. That's the way I think it should work. Do you not think Sirianni's going to go down that road, boss?
No, I think he will. And the thing is I was really impressed with some of the things Dillard did in camp and in the preseason games as a rookie. He's got really nice feet. He's silky smooth. He just really struggled with power. And it's not like this isn't like little league football, right? Or little league baseball where it's like, oh, Johnny can't hit a curveball, so don't throw him curveballs. No, like if you can't hit a curveball, they throw you a curveball every single time. Dillard could not stop the bull rush. And, he put on some weight. I don't really think that's the answer. I think the answer, and this is like little inside baseball here, close the distance. Jump that mother sucker. You know what I mean? Like you don't drop back and sit. You go attack him. He's really quick. He's got really good feet. Look, Jeff Stoutland's a great O-line coach. I love Stoutland, but I wouldn't have told him to put on weight. There's plenty of O tackles that are 300, 305 pounds. Look, try to get stronger, sure, but go hit that guy. Go attack him. He's got initial quickness. He's got really good feet. He's smooth. He just struggled with power and on some level struggled with the physicality of the NFL. Look, if you're the first round pick, they're coming to try to kill you. Like that's the thing that cracks me up. Totally different story, but I think it cracks me up about Tebow, right? Like Tebow playing tight end in Jacksonville. Yeah. This isn't like the other guys don't look at him like, wow, that's Tim Tebow. He won the Heisman. They're 23-year-olds from Podunk, Mississippi, who think it's hilarious. They're going to get a chance to kill Tim Tebow in person. Like they can't wait. They're like, oh my gosh, I watched this guy play when I was 9. Now I'm going to light him. He's going to try to block me. Yeah. I'm going to go smash his face mask through his nose.
Now, Ross, the Eagles knew that about Dillard. It was the Everson Griffin game. I think it was Robert Quinn with the Cowboys at the time that really lit him up as a rookie, and it was that bull rush. He looked better in training camp, tore his biceps. Obviously, Ted Rath was working with him. But I want to throw a curveball at you with Mailata, and it's a little bit of counterintuitive, but he proved he can play both sides, right tackle, left tackle. You know how important it is to have a swing tackle on game day. When they asked Dillard to move over to the right side, it was a disaster. When you look how you build your team, how you build your offensive line, in some ways, does it hurt Mailata to be so versatile because he can be the backup tackle? And you know how much Jeff Stoutland hates moving parts. So in other words, if he's got to move Mailata from left tackle to right tackle in game and then put in Dillard, he's affecting two spots where if you start Dillard and then you just have the swing tackle. Does it make sense?
Yeah, so I think that's only the case, John, if it's dead even, which it very rarely is, right? Like if Mailata's marginally better, they put him at left and either have Dillard learn how to play right, or if something happens to Lane, they can bump Mailata over and Dillard can go in at left. Not ideal, but it happens if Dillard really can't play right. But let me just say this. If you're Dillard and you really can't play right, you better be really good at left. You better be really good at left. They just don't keep guys in the NFL like that can only back up one spot. Just doesn't happen. So you better really be good at left if you can't find a way to play right. I would submit to you, I still think both those guys have pretty high ceilings. I mean, Mailata's got the highest ceiling of any O-line. He never played the entire sport till 3 years ago. And last year, he did some really impressive things. Still had some issues, but some really impressive things. Mailata's just consistency and reps. Dillard's just power. That's going to be the whole training camp. Has Dillard solved his issues against power? And can Mailata do it consistently and get the reps? So some of the stuff with Mailata, he just hasn't seen it. Some of the stunts, some of the things, he just hasn't seen it. And I don't think them bouncing him back and forth the last couple of years has helped in that regard. But if you're not going to be the starter, you got to be able to play both. I got time at all 5 spots in my career. All 5. Jack of all trades, master of none. It's hard to master one when you're look, the reality is if you're really good, or if I was really good, they would have just left me at one of them. Yeah. But I wasn't. So I had to know how to play all of them.
Let me give you one last question, keeping it on the offensive side, and that's the running back position. We've talked a lot about Miles Sanders and the home run ability that he brings on every snap. But he also had some deficiencies in his game last year out of the backfield, picking up the blocking. Wasn't a great all-around back. A guy you want to get the football in his hands and hopefully have him make a big play, but also can annoy some teammates and quarterbacks and coaches because he doesn't hold down all his responsibilities. Why should we have faith that he'll keep that home run ability this year, but improve in the areas where he needs improvement because of the coaching change? Is there a reason to believe that?
Yeah, because he did it well as a rookie. That's the thing, Jody Mack. He was so good out of the backfield as a rookie. I don't know what happened last year. I mean, it didn't seem like he and Wentz were on the same page. He had some weird drops. If he hadn't shown to be such a competent receiver out of the backfield as a rookie, I would say to you, Jody Mack, I don't know. I don't know what to do there. You might be right. But he already showed he could do it. And I don't know what happened last year, but I'm quite sure that that's going to be a big part of what they do. They want to be able to give Hurts those easy completions. The reality is usually the best matchup in football these days is your running back against their linebacker. Your running back against their linebacker, which is one of the reasons why I still can't believe Kenny Gainwell went in the 5th round. I mean, The guy runs routes like a receiver.
Yeah.
He's really good at it. And these linebackers are not going to be able to check him when they put him in. I still
Because
haven't
he
gotten a
opted
good
out. That's
explanation
the
for
only
that.
reason, Ross. Yeah, he opted out. That's pretty much the only reason he went in the 5th round. That was great value. Last one for me. Follow Ross at Ross Tucker NFL right on the screen there. Twitter at Ross Tucker Pod. Best in the business. He's everywhere. All to see. Westwood won. Eagles preseason. I'm going to get to see Ross in the press box getting that early breakfast, hopefully this year. I haven't mentioned Landon Dickerson, Ross. I have not mentioned him. I saw him last week at rookie camp. Guy's a monster. 6'6", 300 pounds. We've been talking about this offensive line. It's top 10 already. Look, he's not ready towards ACL in the SEC championship game, but that kid can play. Where do you project him long term? Is he the heir apparent to Jason Kelce, or do you think he'll be better suited at guard? Because he's 6'6".
Yeah, so I think they're going to let that sort itself out, depending on how much longer Kelce wants to play and how Brandon comes back from his second torn Achilles. I would submit to you the body type. There aren't a lot of centers like that.
Yeah.
There just aren't. You know, you can have a center like that, John. You just ask him to do different things. You're not going to ask him to pull out on the edge all the time like you do with Kelce. You're not going to have a guy that's 6'6", 330 doing the same thing as a guy that's 6'3", 290. They're going to play the position differently. However, you can have a little bit more power, a little bit more pop at the point of attack. There are other things you can do. You can be stout in the middle and not have the pocket get pushed. But my guess is it will declare itself based on what happens with Brandon Brooks and Jason Kelce.
You see a little Ryan Jensen with Dickerson, like that bully type who just intimidates people, beats people up a little bit.
So Ryan Jensen is my favorite player in the NFL. And Landon Dickerson was my favorite player in the draft because they play the game the way it should be played. You know, I don't miss the camaraderie with the guys. I miss the money, but not that much. I miss the violence. I miss trying to kill dudes. That's what's fun. You can't do that anymore. I'm 42. I coach my daughter's softball, but every once in a while when I'm driving around my car, I just daydream about someone like pushing my wife in a bar and me just being I miss being able to hit people as hard as I could. That's what's fun. It's hilarious. You run around lighting people up. That's why I love Jensen. That's why I love Dickerson. I am praying he stays healthy because if he does, I'm telling you right now, he is going to be an Eagles fan favorite. He's like a combo Jason Kelce, John Runyon platter. How about that? How about that if he stays healthy?
Now I'm actually scared because we know Ross Tucker is one of the hardest working men in the entire business, but he just gave us his love of violence. I think he's going out to a Wawa to just drop somebody when he finishes up his spot here. He's not a big Wawa fan. He's a Sheets guy. We've had this argument before. He's going to go get a coffee. I just hope nobody bleeds after he gets that coffee. We got through it unscathed other than the insight that certainly Ross brought to the table. Appreciate you hopping on board with us, buddy. You know we're going to have you back again down the road. Thanks for hopping on with us today.
Yeah, two things. Number one, my pleasure. I love chatting with all of your viewers. Awesome. And tomorrow, John, make sure you note this. Tomorrow, I've got Andrew Brary, the Browns GM, on the Ross Tucker podcast. And I asked him if he still thinks Howie is the best GM in the NFL. So I think you'll be interested to hear what he says on tomorrow's Ross Tucker podcast.
Looking forward to it. I love Andrew, by the way. I think he's doing a great job.
He's doing I think the Browns are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. I'm happy for him.
Exactly right. Ross, great stuff. Thanks. Check out his podcast. Check him out on WIP, Eagle Pregame. Yeah, we're doing pregames, preseason shows again this year with the Eagles playing 3 preseason games. Ross will be part of that. Thanks for being part of Birds 365.
Love it. See you guys.
Ross Tucker
Thanks,
here
Ross.
with
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.